Good morning, my name is JOHANNA ZAMORA. A non-invasive test to determine paternity in pregnancy. A prenatal paternity test is a method used to establish paternity while pregnant. Postnatal methods such as buccal swabs and umbilical cord testing require that a baby be born before paternity can be established. Prenatal methods such as amniocentesis, chorionic villus sampling, and the non-invasive SMP microarray method can be performed as early as 9 weeks after conception.
Amniocentesis is a procedure that lets doctors detect or rule out problems with your baby's health long before birth. In the uterus, your baby is surrounded by amniotic fluid that provides protection and nourishment. Floating in the fluid are cells from your baby, providing doctors with genetic material for testing. In amniocentesis, your doctor will take a sample of this fluid to test for specific genetic disorders and birth defects. Amniocentesis is usually done in the second trimester of pregnancy, at 15 to 18 weeks. It is generally offered to women with certain risk factors, age 35 or older, which increases the risk of chromosomal disorders such as Down syndrome, a previous child or pregnancy with a birth defect, blood test or ultrasound suggesting a birth defect such as Down syndrome or neural tube defects, or a family history of genetic disorders such as cystic fibrosis. Amniocentesis may also be done in the third trimester for these reasons: to determine if the baby's lungs are mature enough should early delivery become necessary, to diagnose a uterine infection, or to check for anemia in a baby with Rh incompatibility. To begin your procedure, your doctor would use ultrasound to create an image of the fetus and nearby structures on a computer screen. Looking at this image, the doctor can choose a safe place to insert the needle. Your doctor may give you an injection of local anesthesia to numb the surface of your abdomen, where the amniocentesis needle is to be inserted. Carefully watching the ultrasound monitor to avoid contact with the placenta or the baby. Your doctor will introduce the thin needle through your abdominal wall into your uterus and into the amniotic sac. He or she will then withdraw a small sample of amniotic fluid, remove the needle, and cover the site with a bandage. Your body will make additional fluid to replace what was removed. Your doctor will continue to monitor the ultrasound to check that the fetal heartbeat is normal and the baby tolerated the procedure well. You may feel mild cramping or pressure in your lower abdomen. For about 24 hours after your procedure, you will be advised to avoid physical stress, such as vigorous exercise, lifting, prolonged standing, and sexual activity.
Applications in medicine. Why should I establish paternity? There are many reasons why someone may want to establish paternity. The basic answer is to determine the father of a child as early as possible, perhaps even before the baby is born. More complex reasons may include access to legal and social benefits, establish accurate medical histories, and perhaps simple to strengthen the family bond, particularly between a father and child. How exactly does a prenatal paternity test work? There are two types of prenatal paternity testing. 1. An invasive method that records fetal tissues, and 2. The safest method, a non-invasive alternative. The test fetal DNA found in the mother's blood.
Hi, I'm Huida at the Innocence Project. I'm the case director here, and today we're talking about forensic DNA testing. DNA itself is a molecule that's found in every nucleated cell in the human body. It codes for all of our genetic traits. The vast majority, over 99% of our DNA, is actually identical. The part that isn't, the variations in the DNA sequence, is actually what determines our individuality and our individual traits. The structure of DNA is actually in a twisted ladder, which we call a double helix. And this is what it looks like when it's untwisted. So the molecule is actually made up of base pairs of nucleotides. In any investigation in which police believe that a biological sample was left behind, they can collect that biological sample, send it to a lab, and try to find the specific DNA sequence and specific DNA markers and compare it against suspects, victims. So, let's say the police find a bloody t-shirt at the scene. We want to know whose blood is on that shirt. So the police collect the shirt and send it to the lab. What happens at the lab? The sample of blood from the t-shirt is extracted, and we're going to look for the DNA on the shirt. So lab analysts run the amplified and extracted DNA through a machine that involves a chicken. Actually, it looks more like this. Sample goes into a machine, results are read by a laser after going through a capillary tube, and is interpreted by a computer. So the laser in the machine actually measures which markers are present and how much amplified DNA we have. The markers in forensic STR testing are different because of their lengths, and their lengths are different because of the number of tandem repeats. And tandem repeats are repeated sequences in the DNA strand. So let's say we take a sample from the suspect by taking a cheek swab and testing the cells in his saliva to get DNA profile and marker X. Let's say he turns out to be a 4 and an 8, because the blood on the shirt at marker X is a 3 and a 6, and he can't contribute what he doesn't have. We know that this suspect did not leave the blood on the shirt. So this was a super simplified version of forensic DNA testing. To learn more, check these links.
Pros and cons. What exactly does non-invasive mean? Perhaps the best way to explain what is meant by non-invasive is to look at the opposite approach, what could be called an invasive paternity test. Traditional invasive paternity tests require that cells be obtained from the amniotic fluid surrounding the developing fetus or tissue from the placenta, which in some cases can cause miscarriage. How accurate is a non-invasive prenatal paternity test? A DDC will provide at least a 99.9% probability of paternity in cases where paternity is confirmed, for both invasive and non-invasive tests. In fact, many studies have confirmed the effectiveness of a non-invasive paternity test.
DDC, the DNA Diagnostic Center, performs 3 out of 4 private paternity tests and is the most recommended and accredited DNA paternity testing laboratory worldwide.
DDC is the #1 testing facility in the U.S. for paternity testing. We've tested over 1 million samples. Every year we get over 800,000 calls related to paternity testing. DDC's non-invasive prenatal paternity test is innovative for the following reasons. Currently, prenatal testing can be performed by using a sample from amniocentesis or chorionic villus samples. These are invasive technologies that carry some risk of a miscarriage with the technique.
The technology is unique because it finally gives us the ability to perform paternity tests on women who are pregnant in a non-invasive way.
Our testing can be done safely, reliably, and anonymously without the involvement of your doctor.
This is revolutionary technology that we think is going to change the scope of the paternity market.
This test will allow you to resolve a very stressful issue that you may have in your life. DDC's non-invasive prenatal paternity test is a simple 3-step process. Step number 1, call DDC. Your case consultant will carefully explain the process and begin by coordinating your blood collection. We have over 2,000 facilities to ensure a convenient appointment for you. Step number 2, get the blood.
disease. How safe is non-invasive prenatal paternity testing? Is there any risk to me and the baby? For a non-invasive prenatal paternity test, there is no risk to the fetus apart from the ordinary risk to the mother of having her blood drawn.
Non-invasive prenatal testing is a very new, it's been around for about a year, way to screen a pregnancy for serious chromosome problems, and it's done through a blood test. And it's done at about 10 weeks of pregnancy. So currently the studies show that the test is accurate to about 98%, being able to find out if your child has Down syndrome by a blood test that can be done at about 10 weeks of pregnancy. The test is available only to women that are at high risk for birth defects at this time, since that's the only group that's really been studied. That includes women who have had a child with a serious chromosome problem previously, women who are over 35, women who are found to have a baby with an ultrasound examination of the baby that has multiple birth defects that are seen, or screening markers that are suggestive of chromosome problems, and those are variations in some ultrasound findings that we talked to you about. And women that have a history of something called a translocation, which is a genetic change that they have. So if you're over 35 and you'd like that information, we again would be happy to see you through our clinics, have you meet with a genetic counselor, go over your family history, make sure there's nothing else that we need to screen or test you for, and then we can offer you testing. It's at a very low cost at this time.
Thanks. Sí. Dejar cómo sale, ¿está bien? ¿Cómo pusiste? Stop.